Lisbon, Portugal, like Rome and Cincinnati, is a picturesque city built on 7 hills. According to legend, it was founded by Ulysses. That may or may not be so, but her history is that of a seafaring people. Today, Portugal faces the future remembering a glorious past. Henry the Navigator, who gave Portugal a world to conquer through his studies, stands at the prow of Lisbon's Monument of Discovery, which juts out into the river. Behind him, other explorers from Portugal are portrayed. Like the ivory rook of a game of chess stands the Tower of Balaam at the place where Vasco da Gama set sail. Long ago it was the landmark which homecoming sailors strained to see. It was a miracle that the earthquake of 1755, which destroyed most of Lisbon, should have spared this tower, which is built in Manuelian style with some Moorish influence. Memories of the sea mark the pavement of a square with its black and white mosaic inlaid in a pattern of waves, recalling the tidal wave of 1755. In the background are some of the fine classical buildings that distinguish Lisbon, including the Hieronymus Abbey, the Navy Museum, and a lovely fountain which is illuminated at night. On the hill are modern apartments with views that overlook the harbor. Today, colorful fishing boats and sailboats dock in the historic harbor. Fishermen and sailors relax in the fresh, salty air which blows through the city, which may be seen in the background. We spent less than a week in this country in 1971. Our route is marked, and our memories are a potpourri of Portugal. In Lisbon, we remember the Hieronymus Monastery. The building was begun in 1502 with riches brought back from the voyages begun by Vasco da Gama. The cloister has 2 galleries, one above the other, whose vaults are supported by enormous pillars, connected one with the other by arches. This picture may give you a feel for the immensity of the building. And again, in the background and in contrast, we see Lisbon's modern apartments. The Royal Coach Museum is on every must-see list. For here is the richest collection of royal coaches in the world. The coaches serve to carry royalty through Lisbon, from Philip II of Spain to, a few years ago, Queen Elizabeth. The richest, gilded and carved, are the state coaches of the embassy sent by the Portuguese king to the Pope in 1716. In the botanical gardens of Lisbon, we could breathe the tropical odors of trees and flowers from the jungles of Brazil and Angola, some of which were tall enough to butt against the ceiling. Soft music played in the background as we strolled through these gardens. There were drives through Lisbon, up and down the slopes. Lisbon's hills could be rough going if it weren't for outdoor elevators that lift you up the hills for less than half a cent. The Alfama quarter, which was once the Muslim quarter, has ancient cobbled streets and can be visited only on foot. The whitewashed homes are decorated with iron-barred windows and balconies, television aerials, and clothes poles jutting into the street. On the outskirts of Lisbon is a 250-year-old aqueduct that adds interest and beauty, beside being utilitarian. A bit north of Lisbon is Nazaré, a typical and picturesque family resort and fishing village. There's no port here. The boats are drawn up on the beach. All the population of Nazaré gets its living from the sea. This doll wears clothes typical of the native man, plaid material in shirts and breeches and a woolen cap in which they keep their tobacco and valuables. Here we see a man in a plaid shirt, minus the sweater which is worn at sea. The women wear 7 skirts, one over the other, and somber shawls recalling their Moorish past, although they claim descent from Phoenician mariners. Women help unload the boats, stretch the nets, and sell the fish. The widows, note how many are in this picture, wear black for the rest of their lives and may never remarry. We bought colorful toy boats, exact replicas of the ones on the beach, for our grandchildren. Portuguese fishermen risk their lives every time they put to sea. "O salty sea," writes a Portuguese poet, "how much of your salt comes from the tears of Portugal. How many mothers have wept, how many girls have remained unwed to make you ours, O sea." A little further north is Coimbra, Portugal's university city. The university crowds the hill on which Coimbra is built. 8 centuries of learning have created a spell and spirit in this city which can be felt by even a casual visitor. The heart of the university is right at the top of the town and is surrounded by old houses with uneven roofs which house a galaxy of republicas. They're an association of 8 or 10 undergraduates who take a house for a school term. The university possesses a unique jewel in its great secular Baroque library. Not all of the million books composing the library are in these halls, but the best bindings grace the shelves and give an extremely mellow feel to these 3 rooms. The great square of the university is bounded on 3 sides by 17th and 18th century buildings with an older gateway, lending majesty to the buildings, and a clock tower, adding dignity. At 11 o'clock, the clock struck the hours. If the minds of the students at Coimbra were enlightened, their eyes were trained to beauty, too, as the views from the terrace prove. Through an archway, the beloved Mondego River may be seen in the distance. The Portuguese have a great affection for this river, for it's the only one of their great rivers which is Portuguese from end to end. We often saw women washing clothes in the river, but our view was usually from a bridge where we couldn't stop to take a picture. Finally, in desperation, we snapped this one. The tiny figures in the background are women washing clothes. Think of the work that goes into a fresh white blouse. In the background, the modern buildings and highway serve as a contrast. In Coimbra is a small-scale village, a masterpiece of art and taste, and a symbol of Portuguese architecture and folklore. It's called Portugal of the Little Ones. Does this clock tower look familiar to you? It's a replica of the one at the university. Children and adults come to the village to learn by looking, asking, touching, and playing among the houses and monuments that are all built to scale. Among its treasures are windmills, a waterpress, coal mine, and a cathedral with colonnades. As we approached the town of Elvas, where plums come from, the first thing to be seen was the extraordinary aqueduct, which is 5-tiered in places, It was built to take water across the plain to the city of Elvas in the 15th century. It was built on the foundations of an ancient Roman aqueduct of the 5th century. Soon the ancient stronghold of Elvas appeared on a hill. It's surrounded by bastions and walls. Here stands the 16th century cathedral with its stunted tower, and an old Roman Moorish castle captured from the Moors by Sancho II in 1226. Elvas is a rather sinister place with narrow streets that wind up and down, and the town is filled with soldiers, for it's one of the chief garrisons of Portugal. We remember some of the contrasts of Portugal. One day, our guide said, "Get your cameras ready. We'll soon pass a house built between two rocks. Can you see the stone house built between and on the boulders?" And a little later on, we passed this magnificent structure, which is the home of a count. Portugal's outstanding record of devotion is the shrine of Fatima, where hundreds of thousands of pilgrims worship each year. On the 13th of each month, the huge square is crowded. Many cures have been claimed by pilgrims to the shrine. Every day, pilgrims and penitents come to light candles and to pray. Outstanding in its beauty is the Batala Monastery with its gorgeous royal cloister. The stone used in this fine example of flamboyant Gothic is a soft limestone which has taken on a pastel tone. The flying buttresses are edged with a veritable lacework of stone. Among the memories we cherish are the quaint windmills, the fado, or folk songs, and the sea. Windmills such as these on the horizon dot the land. Their linen sails, ornamented with clay pots pierced with holes, turn in the wind and make a singing sound. And we remember the fado. We bought a record to bring home with us, for the fado is Portugal. If the fado of Lisbon is sometimes harsh, earthy, often bohemian, the fado of Coimbra scales different heights, for it's sung by romantics. Here now is a small sample of fado combined with memories of the seaside. One day at the seashore, Paul threw bread to some hungry birds. We can listen to a fado as we watch the birds.
Pergunto ao vento que passa notícias do meu país, e o vento cala a desgraça, o vento nada.
Like the birds in their soaring, like the glory of a calm sea, like the haunting melody of the fado, our memories of Portugal are ever soaring onward.